Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Esteemed Gentlemen podcast for Wednesday, April 7th. I am your host, Scott Labrie. Joined alongside me, as always, we have Uncle T-Bag himself, Tyler Sund.
What's up? What's up?
What's up, dude?
What's
and
up?
We got all day Eric the Chain here as well.
Hello, hello.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Very, very good. I'm very excited because we get to talk about one of my favorite shows of all time, Avatar: Last Airbender. And the reason we are talking about this show is because, Tyler Sunt, you have finished it for the very first time just last week. We'll start with you. What were your thoughts on the show?
Just trash. No, I'm just kidding.
Garbage.
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. I was a bit hesitant when you first tried to convince me to watch it. Then we got through, I think we watched it together. We started watching it together before this whole pandemic thing happened. I'm pretty sure. Was it before that or was it?
Yeah, it was like in the
it was
summertime.
definitely well before it. Yeah, so I can't believe I've been kind of picking at it over the past year. And it was okay at the start. I was like, yeah, this ain't bad. You know, I can see the appeal a little bit. Like if you're a young kid, you're watching this, yeah, it's not too bad. But then as we got near the middle of the second season, I was hooked, and I think we finished it in like 2 weeks. After that, I was like, man, this is fucking amazing. It's like really, really good. And I think it's probably something that should go down in history as one of the best, you know, like age 8 to, you know, as long as you can watch shows and understand what's happening, I think it'll appeal to everybody. It's got the comedy, it's got the drama, it's got the feels, it's got the action, it's got everything. It's just an all-around feel good, feel sad, feel good mostly kind of show. But yeah, surprisingly lots of feel sad moments.
Yeah.
But like not like really sad, like oh my god, you know, like depressing, like, you know, Game of Thrones feel sad parts,
Right.
like this is more like aw, and then you're just like damn. So yeah, it was excellent.
What was the
Excellent.
moment in season 2 that hooked you?
Moment in season 2 was when I believe is probably Uncle Iroh was trying to convince Zuko to just, you know, lay low, you know, take a load off. They're in the Earth Kingdom. Nobody knows who they are. We're going to open up our tea shop. You know, we're going to give it all up, you know, find forgiveness. And when Zuko's fighting himself, like he's having those night sweats and everything, and he's trying to basically, he's at war with himself. And then when he eventually, and he abandons his uncle and leaves, and it's just like, oh my god, like there's no redemption with this guy. Like this guy is just such a shitty little nephew, but Uncle Iroh never gives up on him. So he goes back, and then he like gets back in with the Fire Kingdom. Then I guess that kind of trails into the. But when when they go to fight, and then Aang gets blasted by Zula, I believe it is. That's Azula. The lightning hits him in the back, and he almost dies. And then that's the end. I'm just like, okay, we have to see what happens here. We have to keep going. Yeah, fucked up his chakra or whatever for him to basically fully envelop the Avatar state, and how he's like basically doesn't really want to, even like when he's learning about the chakras, how to let all of it flow through his body and all that stuff, and he doesn't want to do the one where he feels emotions and emotional attachment to people because he's in love with Katara. And it's like, oh, this is so good. He doesn't want to become just a living peacekeeping weapon, right? So he wants to basically retain his humanity and his love for people and all that. And I don't know. It's just such a complicated yet simple, fucking excellent show. It's so good. Yeah, I'm tearing up just thinking about all the moments. It's so good. It's such a good show. Yeah. And even though it's an older show that came out like early 90s, mid 90s, I guess.
No,
early
2000.
Was it 2000?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I'm mixing up the documentary because I watched the documentary of the making. Is when they got the first idea and got the ball rolling. Was in like 90 something. I can't remember, but yeah. Even though it's kind of an older show, I guess it's over. Yeah, it's probably about a decade, eh?
Oh yeah, 15, around 15 years old. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember it came out when I graduated. It's like 05, 06. Yeah. So.
Oh geez, and I had no idea that even existed.
Well, you probably weren't watching Nickelodeon cartoons at that time.
No,
so
I definitely wasn't. No. So no, it's definitely earned its reputation, and it deserves its rating of 9.1 or 2, whatever it is, out of 10 on IMDb, and all the critics and everybody give it all the same.
It's held like 100% Rotten Tomatoes for a long time, and it's not changing anytime soon. I don't think so.
And that goes with that's saying a lot for sure.
Yeah, it's I've never heard of anybody who's like actually watched the show and like is like, nah, I didn't like it. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, no, you just the people who haven't liked it. It's like, no, you just haven't watched far enough.
No,
That's the one
you
You
do
gave
have
up too
to.
soon.
That is the one thing with the show. It is a slow, like the
Mhm.
first season. Like whenever I do start to watch it again, the first season I usually have it on the background when I'm doing house chores or cleaning or whatever else, because those first few episodes are not really the most entertaining or like uh, um involving episodes. So you just kind
Yeah.
of watch them and as is. But after
Yeah.
season 2, and then once you get into season 3, that's when it gets a lot more
Yeah.
entertaining that way there. So
I find
Yeah.
like for each season, the first like 10 episodes or like 7 to 10 episodes of each season are always kind of like a little slow, a little bit fillery.
Mhm.
They're, oh, let's go here, do this fun thing, do this, and then like usually
Mhm.
like the midway point they'll have some big thing happen. Like you'll get the in the first season they go to the island and he meets Roku for the first time there, and then halfway through again you have like Sozin's Comet and all this other stuff, right? And it's they pace it like kind of all right, but yeah, it can be a little slow towards the beginning for sure. For me,
Mhm.
I got hooked like right after the first season. That's what I always say. Like, just give it the first season because like
Mhm.
I think the season finale of season number 1 is awesome. Just him
Mhm.
Yeah.
like the dude fucking killing the moon spirit. Like,
Yeah.
it's like Jesus, man, that is some evil
Yeah.
stuff. And then
That is some evil.
That
evil
was
shit, yeah.
pretty dark. Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
and everything just goes gray. And then except for
Mhm.
him becoming blue and like absorbing the ocean spirit and then
Mhm.
combining with him and just destroying everything. Like,
Yeah, the whole
Mhm.
Fire Nation fleet, like nothing, just swatting them away.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Makes you think about that episode. I think it'd be probably pretty underrated. Didn't really propel the plot too much. Was when they sneak into the theater, the live reenactment
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
of their adventures throughout. It's like, oh, this is kind of a neat little recap thing. But then
Yeah.
they have like little moments that are actually important in that. You think, oh, it's just
Mhm.
going to be a whatever, right? But then that's when Aang feels misinterpreted and he's
Mhm.
jealous of Zuko and Katara and he thinks that there's a thing between them. And I'm just like, oh, the fucking teen emotions, god damn it. Jealousy, and when he
Yeah.
kisses her and she's just like, what are you doing? I told you I'm not sure yet, and blah blah blah. And then he's like all flustered and goes away, and I'm like, oh, such a typical boy response. Fine, fuck you then, I'm running away forever. Man, it's like so realistic. I love that show. It's so
Mhm.
good. It's like I said, like it's just got everything, not too much romance, but just enough to,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so good. It's
Mhm.
very good.
They definitely like played up like, hey, these are kids, we're not gonna
Mhm.
go crazy with it. So
Oh, for sure.
yeah. What about you, Eric?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the show there?
Like, that's the thing. It stands the test of time. It's how good it is. We're still talking about it 15 years later, and just how entertaining it is and what it means to us. But like, I remember watching it when it first came out and being blown away just by all of it, and this made me want to rewatch it over and over again so many times since then. But like, it's how it just hooks you immediately. Not only with just the visuals, but like even when there is action scenes, is how entertaining those are still too as well, right? Because it is martial arts essentially. It's how they have combat, but it's just with the elements and everything else. There's that much more of a layer to it to enjoy it and watch it with, right? So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I remember just sitting there watching like, oh man, imagine if I could like firebend or waterbend. Oh, it'd be so cool, and just give you that
Oh.
fantasy, right? So
Yeah, even
Yeah.
being like, 35 years old. Like when I was a kid and I used to watch like Ninja Turtles, I'm like, oh
Uh-huh.
yeah. And then as soon as the episode's done, I grab a stick and I'm like Donatello, so I smack
Yeah.
my brothers with it, like, oh yeah, And like after watching this, it's like, man, frick, like you just like see yourself like, man, imagine I could just like, just take that water and just swirl it around and
Yeah.
throw it at somebody or
Yeah,
cut
splash
something,
someone's- Yeah.
whatever. Like it's one of the first shows that made me wonder, like, wish I could do something like that. Makes you go back to your child
Mhm.
instincts and just be like,
And it's
oh,
also one of those shows too where it didn't treat the audience like total idiots, or it
Mhm.
was very mature themed. It was very, it was main aimed for younger audiences, but it felt like to me like watching the old animated Batman, where it had some serious undertones, even though it was an animated show. So
Yep.
that's one thing I did enjoy it a lot with that, with that too as well. Was like it took itself seriously and it made you think about what the characters were doing and their emotions and their aspects of it. So I really enjoyed that too as well with it. So.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah, they deal with like some pretty heavy stuff, like genocide and propaganda, indoctrination, all this other stuff, right? And it's even Aang toward the end, Aang's like moral struggles, whether to kill the Fire Lord or that sort
that
of
was
thing.
really good.
It's really, really incredible show, like incredible world building too.
There's such a deep lore to it, but you don't really know all of it, but you just know that it's just so fleshed out that they talk about stuff that's happened. And it's like, okay, yeah, you just totally understand because it's, it just, you don't really question any of it because it all just ties together so seamlessly.
Right.
And they have just, so much history in such a small amount. Like they don't go into so much detail. It's just like 1 or 2 episodes will have a little bit of that, but it's just, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. And, who are your favorite characters there, Tyler?
Wow, it's hard to. This is one of the first shows I've watched where I have a really hard time having a favorite character because I know that Aang is the main character, but he didn't feel like the main character. I felt like his whole entire group was the main character. Even Zuko was the main character. Like I liked all of them, and I knew that Zuko at the beginning was like basically the villain, but I couldn't help but find myself like, his uncle Iroh is like telling him to just, chill, stop being a lunatic and just chasing this guy, your honor, like screw the honor. Your dad's a douche. He doesn't, like you got to find yourself. You got to find what makes you happy. And that's all right. And it's just like, oh man, I hope Zuko does change his heart because I really like the uncle's got it all fucking figured out. Like he was a bad guy, he was a general, but he's like a big softie. Like what the fuck, right? So it just shows you that everybody has flaws and like aspiration.
The ability to change too was a big thing.
Exactly.
So,
but I guess I don't know. Like I have 3. I love Toph, obviously, is one of the best, and Sokka because he doesn't have any powers, but yet he basically keeps everybody on track. Yeah. Even though he's a freaking goofball. Yeah. And he's just like such a dumbass, but yet he's smart. And that's the weird thing. And then of course Uncle Iroh, he might be my favorite as Uncle Iroh, but it's tough to pick one. So it's between those 3, and I think if I really had to pick one, I would have to say probably Sokka. I'd have to say is probably my favorite. I have to say Sokka. Oh god, it's so close between him and Uncle Iroh.
Yeah, I mean, like everybody's like favorite is Uncle Iroh for the most part. Like, it's impossible not to love that guy. He's just like incredibly wise, funny at times, and just like also like just a badass. Like him, they talk about. I think I've heard he went to the spirit world, and you see him, he notices the flying dragon flying by, and it's like, oh fuck, and then
he's aware of that stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like Jesus, this guy's insane.
He's worldly, and he's.
But he just enjoys all the finer things in life. That's all he wants to do.
It was fast to have his tea. That's all he wants. Yeah,
that's all he wants. Have his own tea shop and be with his favorite nephew and just live life and be happy and relax and
Yeah. And there's that part in season 2, I think episode's called Bitter Work, where he's teaching Zuko how to deflect lightning and stuff.
Yes.
And he's like, I learned this technique from the waterbenders, and he's like writing all the symbols in the ground and stuff like that. And he's like we're one people, and we should all learn to learn from each other and all this other stuff. And it's like like he's the a general in the fire army, and he's saying this kind of stuff, so you can kind of tell like he's not with him essentially. Ever since probably like his son died, he's kind of like
it really hit him, and he realized just how fragile life is, right? So I thought that was for sure. I can see why everybody liked Uncle Iroh. I mean, I loved all of the characters. Like Aang is awesome. He's funny, but he's trying to become something that he doesn't fully believe that he has the ability to be. Like you said, when he was having that internal dilemma, with what to do with the Fire Lord when he sees him, and he's talking to all the other avatars, and they're all telling him the same thing. You have to do this thing. It's an absolute certainty. Like you may have all these morals, but when he's talking to the one previous one, they're the one before, I can't remember which one it is, and he let him live, and then he ended up destroying, all these villages and all these homes and killed so many people, and he just lived a life of regret after that, just because he, spared his life. But then, if he would have just taken his life, he could have prevented all this loss and all this terrible stuff. But and then Aang, because he's an airbender, and the monks taught him his whole life, peace and forgiveness is, the main thing you want to do. And as a true airbender and a good person, that's what you do, right? So what an ending though, when he just took his bending away instead. I'm like, oh, nice. And like when he had the chance, like when the Fire Lord freaking blasted him and he was about to deflect it back at him, and he has that split second, he's like, I can't do it. And me and Carly were sitting there holding a hand. We're like, Aang, you should have just cooked the motherfucker. Why are you such a good person? God damn it. And then he ended up taking his ability away. Yeah. I thought that was really good. Yeah, one of the best moments for sure.
Yeah, I find like Aang doesn't get enough credit with like a lot of people. Like everybody like he's kind of a goofball, but I mean like when you think of that kind of character, he's the Avatar, he's the chosen one. A lot of times like those kind of people are just kind of played off as like Superman, where like nothing phases him. But you find out like a lot early, like this dude isn't perfect. You ran away from the air temple and got lost in the storm and basically set off this whole chain of events, and he's been gone for 100 years, and he meets that fisherman. He's like, screw you, man. Where you been all this time? World's gone to shit. And like, he hides the map from Katara and Sokka there too, and stuff like that. And losing Appa, his whole like that arc too. And he's just it's just kind of, it's interesting. Like they like definitely like didn't make him invulnerable, which is really nice.
Exactly. And all of his uncertainty with everything, right? He just wants everybody to just get along, but he knows he can't do it. And then he makes a couple of decisions where he thinks he can probably skip a step, but it just makes things worse. And it's just like, then he has to deal with it after. And it's such a realistic human thing, right? It's just like, oh man, every action has a consequence, and your decisions are going to affect everybody. So but like every character is kind of like that too, right? Well, except for Toph, she's very straightforward. But no, for sure, Aang is definitely a very good main character, because he is just extremely flawed. He's not, like you said, like just a perfect, I'm the Avatar, I'm going to do what I have to do to be the best, and I'm going to be the best, and that's what I'm going to do, and whatever, right?
He's definitely an 11-year-old kid who's like forced to save the world. So
yeah, exactly. You can't blame him for making a few bad choices.
Exactly.
He's still learning to be, an adult or whatever.
Exactly, right? And basically has to do it all by himself. He doesn't have any of his teachers anymore or anything like that. So.
Exactly. Just his friends, his close little handful of friends.
Yep. What about you, Eric? Who were some of your favorite characters from the show?
Yeah, like Tyler, I definitely agree that those in one, Sokka is a good one there too. Iroh is a huge inspiration, especially to aim to be like somebody's, to be like Uncle Iroh for sure, because just a gentle spirit who's wise in the world and just all encompassing and caring. Yeah, it's a good person to look up to. But hands down for me, is got to be Toph. She's the best earthbender, the best character. I love her. So yeah. And for me, it's to see someone, especially with a disability, and use it to their advantage is a huge something you don't see at all on television. And with her especially, it was like, she's blind, and she used it to become an even better earthbender, and it shows in the show, and just how that hasn't held her back, and I think it elevated her that much further. So
and the fact that she can metal bend fucking roots.
She discovers that all on her own. No, the teaching just out of will and force, she makes a whole new style of bending. It's like, this character is awesome. So
fucking awesome. Yeah.
Another one too is Katara is another one too as well. I find it doesn't get enough credit as well, because I find her arc throughout the series is one that's really cool to watch too as well, because she goes from being the naive wannabe master waterbender to like an actual badass waterbender through like some awful trials and tribulations herself too, right? So she's thinking she's good enough to teach the Avatar, but she herself is a teacher at one point, so she gets taught, and then over the series she gets better and better to the point where like she can hold up her own against any and all other benders, firebenders, earthbenders, it doesn't matter, right? So that was cool to see her progress as a character as well. So that Agni Kai scene, especially, where she's always had trouble to compete against Azula, and then she's able to not only best her, but like control the whole situation and the whole fight and defeat her, was great to watch too with that. So,
Fuck
But
yeah.
that scene too, especially, was a great
Yeah.
one to watch because that
It
was
was.
beautiful and well fought, and yeah, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And yeah, speaking of Agni Kai, like one of my favorites, yeah, is Zuko.
Mhm.
Like if you take him out of this show, it's like
it
Yeah.
doesn't work.
exactly like
Yeah.
you know, his whole storyline is like what really makes the show special in my books. Like you know,
Yeah.
like his struggle to get back in the good graces of his father and his country, and it all stems from him like wanting to do the right thing, which was like, you know, he spoke out of turn at the meeting, but he was like speaking about like them just blatantly sacrificing like a troop of soldiers, and he like stands up for them, and then he gets scarred and burned because of that, and now
By his own father, yeah.
in
And
exile
then
it's like
thrown to exile for the unreachable goal. Just so happens that the goal showed itself. Otherwise, he would have been spent his whole life in exile for no
Yeah.
reason, right? So, like,
Yeah.
that's just how fucked up the whole situation is with that.
yeah, but I just like things like he's always been a good guy, and it's just like a matter of he just needed the right guidance, and you know, thankfully like his exile was his salvation, I guess, kind of thing, you know, getting
Exactly.
Iroh to point him in the right direction.
Mhm.
Yeah. Could have wound up like his Looney Tune fucking sister,
Exactly, right?
who I also kind of liked.
Yeah, I know. It's hard
she's
not
a
to
great
like
villain.
who,
She's
She's a really good villain.
Yeah.
Just crazy.
confident and scary and like just into control the whole time. Like,
Yeah.
awesome.
I especially appreciated that episode where they're taking a vacation on Ember Island or whatever, and they're going to the party, and she's like, "You and I would make a great children, powerful. We could conquer the world." And the guy's like, "Okay, see you later." He just walks away from her. You know who I am? Do you know who I am? Just like a total fucking psycho spoiled brat. Yeah, she's a good character. She was one of my top ones too. Like that's what I mean. Like it's hard to pick one. How do you pick a favorite character? They're all so good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah,
So
no,
good.
for sure.
And
So
thank
good.
God we're getting more of it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, right.
What were you guys' favorite moments or episodes from the show?
Well, for me, I was kind of happy to see. I don't know if it was season 3. I think it was season 3 when it's called The Puppet Master.
Yes. Yeah.
That episode, I really liked that episode because it was funny because before we were talking, before like even the podcast idea or even like the spoiler cast idea came about, Carly and I had watched it, or before we even watched that episode, actually, I was like, Carly, what kind of bender would you want to be? And she's like, oh, I'd probably do the water bending, like for healing and whatever else, right? And she's like, man, and I would just bend people around. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, I would just like, you know, the human body's made out of water, right? Blood. I would just like control people. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, you can't do that. Like the show hasn't even shown that. Fuck, not even a day later, it shows the blood bending, and Carly looks at me, and I'm like, oh, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And the witch is just like, and she's like from, you know, a water tribe, and she just went Looney Tunes crazy, right? And she just hates the Fire Nation. She's been like picking them off one by one and bringing them to that mountain. And I thought that was awesome. And then like when Katara was learning it, and she's like, I don't want to have this power. You should never use this against people. This isn't, you know, like it isn't right and blah, blah, blah. But then she does end up using it. And I'm like, oh, it's just one of those filler episodes. I'm like, but I wonder if she will use it again. And then when she goes to find her mother's killer, and then she uses it, I'm like, oh my God, I just had fucking goosebumps, man.
Yeah.
It's just like, is she gonna like twist his head around? Like, what's she gonna do to him? Like, how dark can this get? But she, you know, she does find that moment where she wants revenge so bad, and then Aang's trying to tell her, like, you don't kill him. Don't do this. You got to forgive him and this and that. And she's like, I'll see what happens. And then Zuko's like, I'll go with you. And I like how everybody has a little adventure with Zuko to go like find the redemption. Yeah. Except for Toph. Yeah.
Before Toph ever got it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
They even have a line about that. It's like, is this the one where I get my adventure? And it's like, no.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. That's funny. But yeah, that was my favorite episode. But obviously, my favorite moment of all 3 seasons and all the things that happened, my favorite moment was when Zuko finally found his Uncle Iroh after everything. And he's it's hard for me to even read what I wrote for an answer here. This part actually got me really bad. Just like cry, really got me. Yeah. He's like, he goes into the tent because he's like, because the White Lotus clan or whatever, like the master's there, everybody's there. Aang's old earth bending buddy there, the old crazy guy, he's there, and whatever, all at the camp getting ready to go. And he goes into the tent and he sees his Uncle Iroh in the tent and he's snoring. And then Zuko doesn't want to wake him, so he like just basically meditates and waits for him to wake up. And he's so nervous and he's so guilty and he's worried that his uncle's, not going to want anything to do with them, and he'll just be super upset with them. And then when he wakes up, he like immediately just goes and hugs Zuko. And he was just like, he's like, Uncle, I was so worried that you'd be so disappointed with me. He's like, no, Zuko, I'm just so proud that you finally found who you are and you became the person I wanted, that you knew you should be. And oh my God, Carly and I were just like I'm tearing up right now, just thinking about it. That part just got me like so hard because the Uncle Iroh just like, even though like he went like a 180 and when he was in his cell. Mm-hmm. And he just told him that he was just like, he's a traitor and he's a coward and a scumbag, basically spit in his uncle's face after he came back, like after everything that they went through. I'm like, you fucking little shit, how dare you to Uncle Iroh, you fucking bastard child. But he knew that he was going to turn around. He had faith in him. He never lost faith in him. And yeah, it was perfect. It was a perfect moment.
Yeah,
it was my favorite. That was my favorite moment out of all of them.
Yeah, Dante Bosco, who like the voice of Zuko, was just like so good at that moment. Like his voice cracking and stuff like that as he's like talking to him. Right? It's just like, oh man, like like chokes you up. And then I think the line was like, he wasn't mad. He was just sad that he lost his way or whatever.
Yeah, I just had to lost your way.
Yeah, on repeat viewings, that always gets me every time.
That's my one scene that always gets me every time. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. That scene, and then when he's having tea with his son there, by the tree.
Yes,
that was really, really sad too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's also the two go-to like emotional scenes that the show offers, and it's tough to stay dry in those scenes for sure.
See, and that's the thing, like they don't linger either. They're just quick and fast, and it just fucking gets you right in the fucking heart, and it just continues on. It just leaves you there.
Yeah.
Sitting there like, oh, pick myself back up. Okay, we got shit to do. Let's go. It's like, oh my God. Son of a bitch. This kid show is fucking killing me here. This is the most emotion I've seen, in the past decade of any movie. In one 5-minute fucking cartoon, man. But yeah, no, that was probably my favorite moment.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say.
Yeah. What about you, Eric?
That was my go-to as well with that one. But another one of my favorite moments is probably the one during the eclipse. Mm-hmm. They attacked the beach and everything else. So you just see the scale, like what the plan was. So I remember seeing it too. I'm like, well, whatever, they're just going to rush to the island and just work their way up, right? Well, no, they had like they had submarines, they had tanks, they had the whole like battle plan the whole way up. I'm like, oh, actually, this was well thought out. This was actually a good idea. Oh, wow, I was surprised by that. And just the ingenious of the equipment they used, like that was really cool to see. Yeah, wow, they used everything to their advantage, and
and the whole time I was just waiting for Katara and Sokka's dad to get it and die. I'm like, this is what if they do that here, I swear to God, that's such a dick move. Like they just finally found their dad, and like luckily he fucking made it. There's so many close calls though. I'm like, oh, don't you do it? But
that one there, and of course when we first meet Toph, that's one favorite scene too as well in the Earth Kingdom, and like you see here. At the end of the episode, you see her kidnapped, and they go to bring her back. They pay their ransom, and she's like, "Well, Toph can't fight. She's just a blind, helpless young girl. What could she do?" Blah blah blah. And then she's like, "Fuck you, Dad," and just like kicks all their asses. And the one felt emotional. I'm like, "Yeah, this is a badass chick right here." This is
yeah.
And you see how it's like it was like 8-on-1, and she just kicks all their asses, and that was great to see. So
yeah. In the rock.
Ring.
The boulder. Do you know who voices the boulder?
Who is it?
That's Macho Man.
No, Mick
Foley. Sorry.
Oh, it's Mick Foley. Oh, cool. You know that.
Yeah. I think the one is, and another like fun thing was originally that the boulder was going to be part of the gang before they created the character of Toph, which is kind of
really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
on the documentary they were saying that they were adamant that it was going to be a big, strong, like kind of a
Dude,
goofball dude, right? And then somebody, one of the producers or one of the other writers was like, "No, it has to be a girl. It has to be a girl. It has to be." And then that one guy, one of the main founder of the show, he said that he argued and argued, but ultimately they made the right choice by making her a young woman, young girl,
young blind girl too, especially. That
Yeah.
was a
Mhm.
good balancing choice there for sure.
Did you ever
was
watch
good.
that making of, Eric?
I thought I started watching it, but I don't remember if I did or not. I don't think I finished it. No, I
Really
thought I
cool.
started
It's-
watching it.
It is really good. It's short and sweet. I love
It's
it.
like half hour or something like that, 40
Mhm.
minutes.
Yeah, it's half an hour. Yeah, it's a good documentary.
And I like how like they even how they photograph all the fighting and stuff, and it's like, yeah, for tough we would have to bring in a totally different guy for a totally different art style. And it's
Yeah.
like this big like fat dude, and you're like, this guy's a karate master, but it's like, and then they have like the actual dude who's been doing all the other martial arts. He's like, yeah, this guy is like would kick my ass. It's like, oh, okay, all right,
Right. Yeah.
kind of interesting.
I love that. I love that too. Like how they had there's like 4 different fighting styles for each bending style. Like it's so cool. The earth bending is like really powerful, quick stroke movements, and then the water is like very flow, lotus, whatever,
Tai
mantis,
Chi or something.
Tai Chi. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How they all had different things, different fight styles. How they filmed it all before so that the artists could like replicate the fighting style. That's why the art is so good, right?
Mhm.
So I thought, yeah, that's fucking cool, man.
Yeah. And one of the creators of the show was in it all the fight scenes. He's like, yeah, I'll help you out.
Yeah.
His ass kicked a lot.
He was just a punching bag.
Yeah.
The example for the whole show. Yeah. Great sacrifice.
A couple of my favorite episodes. The Storm, back in season 1, you kind of learned the backstory of Aang and Zuko, and how Aang ran away from the air temple, and you learn how Zuko got the scar on his face and stuff like that. And that was always a cool one to me. Just kind of learning, it's like, these guys are kind of similar, kind of sort of, you know.
Yeah.
Another one of my favorite is the Avatar and the Fire Lord, which does the origins of the war, how it started in Avatar Roku and his best friend Sozin.
Yes.
And eventually how Sozin betrays him and leaves him to die on his island. And such a great. And you learn that Zuko's mother is actually Roku's granddaughter. So it's like, damn, just another layer into your.
Let's just throw that in there.
Exactly.
Fuck.
What are some of your underrated and small moments, favorite moments, like tiny, not big ones?
For me, was probably like during the last prison escape episode, whatever the name of that was, where Zuko's girlfriend May or whatever, May and her friend Ty Lee go against Suki, Azula, and help them escape. I was like, holy shit, she's right back up in my books again. And she's just like, because she knew that, like, you know, she was kind of against what he did, and she was just she wasn't even upset that he left the Fire Nation. She was more upset that he broke up with her without telling her, like a man. And I thought that was really cool. Like, next time, don't you break up with me, or next time just don't break up with me. He's like, okay, I won't. Like, I thought that was like super cool, because I thought she would be like she's gonna be jaded and she's gonna have like her revenge and fight him and be all whatever, right? And like Ty Lee, she's just like, oh well, I'm tired of being treated like a circus freak from her, so I'm gonna it's like May made the first move, so I'm gonna help her out too. So then she ends up helping out too, and I'm like, fuck, that's cool, man. Like, everybody's seeing the right side now. Except for the crackhead sister. She's just like hell-bent on whatever.
On control and power.
Just frickin' yeah. So like those were probably some of my favorite moments. I found myself laughing and being like, yes, go May. Thought that was cool.
How about you, Eric?
I really like the Sokka's sword episode, like where he learns the sword fight, because the whole time he's all upset. He's not a bender, so he's just a normal person, but he doesn't really feel like he contributes, so he goes to become a sword master, and that was a great episode. I just wish it wasn't so short.
I know.
You see him like learning it finally, but then, like, within the episode he becomes a really good fighter. Well, that arc kind of goes a bit too fast, because it's a great moment for him to develop as a character. So and you see the gang try to be like without Sokka, like just no wisecracking, no jokes, just kind of low episode, and yeah, it's a great scene too because he finds out he's a water tribe, not from the Fire Nation, and so you think it's going to be this fight and it's going to be this awful scene, but turns out like no, it's anyone's going to learn the sword. It's just ask and learn it. So yeah, that was a great episode for sure.
Yeah, and how the master he wasn't prejudiced. He was just like, oh yeah, I don't really care. Like as long as I just
I found a student, so I want to teach him. So yeah,
right. And then they made his sword out of meteorite. Like how fucking cool is that? Like that's like the best sword ever, man.
And then if he throws it in the last scene, I'm like, no,
he's like, my space sword.
Yeah, exactly. He's such an idiot. I love Sokka, man. Fuck, he's the best.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
No, yeah, I'm just saying that was a good scene too, because that too, like that when he throws the sword at the end to save Suki and Toph on the airship, I'm like, no, don't throw this! Oh, he threw the sword.
Yeah,
a cool sword.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So good.
Yeah, one of my favorite little underrated moments is the Footloose episode where Aang goes to the Fire Nation school and stuff. It's just kind of like,
oh yeah,
it's interesting that it's like, oh yeah, history is written by like the winners and stuff like that, and so they're just making all this shit up because the Fire Nation look good. It's like, all right, I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
All right, last question before we get to some of the listener ones here, reviews. What type of bending would you want and why?
This was a really tough one for me. It was really tough, honestly, but I think I'm gonna have to say earthbending for me. It would have to be earthbending because you can make yourself a house.
Yeah,
you can move dirt. You can make tunnels. You can fucking make shell. You can just like throw shit, throw rocks.
Yeah,
whatever, man. Like anything that's like a solid made out of earth. Like fuck, wicked that would be. Like it'd just be, like waterbending would be sick too. Like don't get me wrong, you can freeze shit, you can like run on water and all that stuff. That'd be cool too. But like with earthbending, man, you could just build like superstructures with your fucking hands. Like just build stuff. Like how cool would that be? And then firebending would be cool too. But all you do is just basically burn shit down. There's nothing really. Yeah. But
yeah, same. I pick earth just because it's most practical. Air probably second because flying would be cool. But yeah,
flying would be pretty sick. Yeah.
I'd
be too scared.
Water.
I like my water bending. Yeah, that'd be something I'd go for sure. Because it's like the movements behind it's very fluid and very, to me it's like I'm thinking more combat wise. I don't know why, just how to fight with it. It's very like very wide sweeps and very angles you can get to with it. So yeah, I think it was very very good choice to have with that. And it'd be fun to have that. So yeah,
you could have your squid arms whipping shit around.
Yeah. But definitely Earth is the practical choice for sure. It's hard to avoid that.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to some listener reviews. This one comes from Nicole. She says her top 3 characters are Toph, Sokka, and Azula. She says Azula purely because she's crazy as fuck and totally unrepentant. Like, she's there to fuck shit up, and she owns and lives and breathes that. She says Sokka is hilarious, and honestly, when they had that one moment at the end of the show when they fall off the airship and he's holding Toph up with one arm and looks like they might die, my heart literally stopped beating. Like, how dare they do that to the show's best boy?
I agree completely. I felt the same way. My heart was racing the whole time. Like, don't fucking do this, man.
Right? It's like, obviously it's a kid show though, so of course they're gonna be okay, but still it was like, oh, things getting dicey here, like
right? Like we're too used to watching shows like Game of Thrones where nobody's safe.
Yeah, exactly.
So, forget that it's a kid's show.
She says Toph is the queen. She is sarcastic and badass and funny. Best all-around character she thinks is that is Toph. And when she learns to bend metal, that's pretty awesome. And then she says overall best person in the show is obviously Uncle Iroh though. And she, she says she would be an earthbender. Can't see myself being anything else. I think it's a personality thing. She says best line in the show is Flameo Hotman.
Oh yes, I was trying to remember when you were talking about when Aang went to the Fire Nation and he's like talking the old way they talk too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blame you,
Hey,
Hoffman. Yeah.
They're like, what? Like, what are you talking about?
And
He's just
yeah, she also likes the moment where Sokka says his first girlfriend turned into the moon, and Zuko says, "That's rough, buddy."
yeah. That's a good line.
That
That's
was
a
a
really
meme.
good line.
I mean, right there. Yeah. That's rough,
Uh,
buddy.
yeah,
That's tough, buddy. That's tough. First girlfriend turned into the moon. That's right. That's why I love Sokka.
This is an underrated moment when Aang and Sokka write a letter from Toph to Katara, and Katara is just like, "I know it was from you. Toph can't write," and they're like, "Oh right, we forgot. All the blind jokes are so well executed and funny."
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, the Blind Bandit episode, that was good.
There's so many fucking funny moments in that show, man. So good. It's so good.
This one from Dylan says his favorite character was Toph, and the best moment was when she learns to metal bend and break out of the cage. He says the underrated moment, the episode when Boomy is sliding around in his cage. That was kind of cool. Like he was just like just moving around, like metal bending with what, like his finger, or earth bending with just his fingers. You just like see how crazy of a bender he was.
Right, just a beast.
And he says he picked airbending because of flight. And we have a review from Carly. Do you have that there, Tyler, or I can pull it up here?
Yeah, I have it. Hold on a second here. Hold on. Hold the phone.
Hold that
commercial.
phone.
We'll go to commercial.
Okay.
So her favorite moment, basically all the parts where Toph and Katara kind of gang up on Sokka, poke fun at him. You know, she just loves that, like how they kind of whatever. But she says that her very favorite moment out of all the moments was when Katara and Sokka find their dad for the first time, and they're so happy to see him. She said that really struck her.
That was touching.
Yeah, very touching. Her favorite character is Toph. She's hilarious, and I love her one-liners. She completes the group and doesn't take anything too seriously. What kind of bending? She wants to do water bending because the fighting style is cool. And because of the healing power you can have, she would like to have a power that she can use to potentially heal people.
That is a cool thing about that.
Yeah. And yeah, that's all I got from her.
Yeah, Toph is great. Them flying through the desert. There it is. And everybody's like, oh, it's like, that's what it sounds like if we were to find it.
Once we find it, she waves with her hands.
Just such a sarcastic little shit.
Yeah.
So funny.
Yep. Well, there you go. Any other final thoughts on the show before we wrap this thing up?
I'm hoping that the next series coming up, the live action series, can hold it to as good as it is, because I have I have high hopes, but I mean, we'll see, because I'm not too sure it'll be as good as that. Because from what I hear so far with some of the stuff coming out of from it, it's like it's not looking too good.
Yeah. That was kind of an up and down thing. It's like, well, they're involved, and then they weren't involved. But then it's like, well, now Avatar Studios does this thing, so I was like, okay, I'm happy about that.
We'll
see. I just like get annoyed that people like won't take a chance on the show because it's animated. So it's like, let's make it live action for the adults. It's like, nah, you guys are gonna just screw something up. Probably
they tried that once with M. Night Shyamalan, and it did not go well. So yeah, a little touchy on that.
Yeah,
that's pretty brutal. Yeah.
What was your controversial thing you're gonna say, Tyler?
I was gonna say that Carly and I started watching The Legend of Korra.
Oh,
we got about 6 or 7 episodes in, and I have to say it's better than Avatar: Last Airbender.
You're wrong.
You are so wrong.
I'm kidding. I was gonna try. I was gonna go on a whole thing, but I can't even keep a straight face.
Have you actually started watching it?
No, we have. Yeah.
Okay.
She actually right now she is going to another tournament to do the fighting the games that they have now. And her teacher, the Airbender, which is Aang's son, Tenzin.
Yeah,
Tenzin. Who I did not realize was voiced by J.K. Simmons. He sounds completely different. I had no idea. I'm like, man, why does his voice sound familiar? But it doesn't sound. But it's like that's Omni-Man's voice. But yeah, Omni-Man. He's very J.K. Simmons as Omni-Man. Yeah. And in this one here, he's more, I don't know, not less throaty, I guess.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty good. A lot less comedy, a little more serious, not like you said, like the side characters. Well, I mean, it's still fleshing out, right? Like we still have shit going on. We don't really know who the big villain is. I know there's a guy with a mask who says, "Oh, things are in motion now. The Avatar is here," and blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, who the fuck's this guy? And like whatever. But I don't know. I like it. I like the animation styles is pretty good in this one. But I don't know. I'm enjoying it. We're probably gonna watch it. So
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
we'll get your updates on that further down the line. We'll see if if your opinions change or what. Wasn't for me. I'll say that much.
No, hey, do you watch the whole thing though?
I watched the 3 seasons. I didn't because I binge watched the first 3 seasons, and the 4th one hadn't come out at that point. And after the 3rd season, I was like, I'm not like dying to see the 4th one. So
right, that's what a lot of the reviewers had said. Like, what happened to season 5 of Legend of Korra? They said, they started losing viewers after the 4th season. And they're like, it's not really going anywhere. There's no real whatever. They lost their creative peak at season 3, and it just kind of started going down. And then so everybody just kind of they're like, nah, shut it down, even though they didn't give it a proper ending apparently. Right. So it's like,
Nickelodeon kind of dicked around with them because they were like, they wanted a 4th season of Last Airbender, and they didn't want to do that. So they said that they would do a one-off season of Legend of Korra.
Yeah.
And then, like, okay, we'll give you another season of that. And then, like, all right, we'll do another season of that. And then, it was just kept, like, instead of, like, at the beginning, Avatar was like, we'll give you 3 seasons. So they planned it out for that. So,
okay.
That's the reason why it's all separate villains for each season throughout.
Okay.
So.
Gotcha.
Not spoilery. I guess that's kind of a spoiler for you. Sorry. But.
Well, you kind of said that before I even started watching it, so I mean, whatever. I kind of had an idea, but yeah, I like how they talk a little bit about Aang and Katara. Like how you see Katara. Actually, she's an old lady in that one.
Yep,
that was kind of interesting. But it's like, man, I want to know more. And then when the kids ask, like, oh, so what happened to Zuko's mother? And it's like, well, they didn't really. They were about to start talking about it, but then they moved on with it. I'm like, what happened to the mother? Like, they never finished that. Fuck, I wanted to know what happened.
Yeah, there's a few of Last Airbender comic books out there.
Yeah, one of them's about that.
Yeah, one of them's about that. So, which I think might be getting adapted into something possibly. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That'd be cool.
An easy thing to do, I think.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's getting long here, so there you go. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, leave it a like here on YouTube. Subscribe as always. Like and subscribe on Spotify, Google, Apple, wherever you're listening to. Head over to our Facebook, like that page as well. And we'll talk to you tomorrow, where we're going to be talking about dreams and nightmares. See you then.
See ya.
See you guys.